Good morning. It's Sunday, August 6th. It is almost 80 degrees at just shy of 9 o'clock in the morning. I got up and watched garden answer and then did some little bit of work in the garden. And now I thought I would take a quick tour through the garden so I could see what this looks like next year. So I have this zucchini in the raised bed, and it has been doing really well, really healthy looking, producing some really big zucchinis, beautiful flowers all the time. And when I look inside of them, there are bees hanging out in them. If you can see the bee in that one. I don't know if I see, there were a few small ones in here the other day. The cucumber, this is the Japanese cucumber. It has been weird. I think they generally have been bitter. They're super spiny. And they grow really weird. Like they'll have some full spots and some wrinkly spots as if they're not getting consistent water. And I know they're getting consistent water because I have a drip system. Right now they're getting 20 minutes of water every morning at 7 a.m. Oh, I bet the finches did that. We have quite the bird ecosystem in this yard right now. And I see them on this plant all the time. This is a blonde bell pepper. And it has been doing really well. It's here. It gets a little bit of morning sun and then filtered sun the rest of the day. And it has been doing really, really well. To my surprise, I've never had a bell pepper do well to fill out, not end up with scorched peppers. So there are quite a few on the plant right now. And they taste like a regular green bell pepper. I haven't noticed any specific sweet flavor, but kind of fun. This guy, the Japanese maple, we're still having branches die back. There's one big branch up there dead, and then this one's died. I believe, this is my suspicion, I have no real professional knowledge. Oops. This tree, I believe, is girdling. This tree, when it was planted, it wasn't carefully watched, and this root, I think, is strangling the trunk. Here is the rest of the vegetable garden. Again, it's 9 o'clock, so it's just now starting to get the sun. I've been watching the sun here in August, and it gets sun. This part gets sun starting around 9, and the sun is gone by 5. There's a little bit of sun here on the front at 5 o'clock. So about 8 hours of sun. Probably not quite enough for a vegetable garden, but it'll do. These plants, like this one, has been sick from the beginning. I think it got an infestation of leaf hopper, and I've never been able to get ahead of it. Oh, look, a yellow squash is in there. There it is. This is another zucchini, the exact same plant as the other one, but looks substantially different. Leaf shape, everything, very different. Same package of seeds. I started the seeds. This one's been pretty prolific. There's zucchinis in there, lots of flowers. Have noticed, though, that because it's in the grow pot, sunlight, they just aren't as healthy. I think they dry out a lot faster. The black fabric just doesn't hold the moisture enough, and the one in the bed, sunlight, just same plant, same time, everything, but it is way more healthy. But it also doesn't get as much sun, though, interestingly enough, which I have mentioned before. All the tomatoes back there are looking good. The eggplant is covered in the purple longs. Oh, that one's probably overdone. So I probably should pull that guy off. And this has been interesting. This was called Bumblebee. It has like a striped, let me see. it has like a striped texture to it. The tomatoes are fine. They taste like tomatoes. They're not particularly flavorful. I mean, they're just tomato flavor, and I like sweet tomatoes, as you can see with the Sun Sugar, Sun Gold, and Sweet 100 here. This is the Jimmy Nardello pepper, which I put in the shade, kept in the shade of this basil plant, and in order to protect it, because it just was getting scorched, and so I let the basil grow, and now it is forming peppers finally, but it took a long time. The last one I grew from seed is this patio, which was supposed to be a determinate when I looked at it, but it's still producing, it stayed small, but it's still producing fruit. They are really good, and I would definitely do this again. I think it needs way more sun than it's getting. I think back here in the corner, it's just shaded too much. All right, this was an experiment. I bought a bunch of plants I didn't really know much about, and I have this in this self-watering bed that I got from Costco, and it was doing really good, and I was fertilizing all the plants with the Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer, and I put some in here and everything burned. So apparently these are not fertilizer-friendly plants. So I have been, watering and everything, and everything's starting to bounce back. You can see. These are the Japanese boxwoods anyway, that are supposed to keep a conical shape. We bought 2 to replace the 2 lemon cypresses that we planted out in the yard, and then both ended up dying. Anyway, they both have been doing pretty well. This one gets a little more sun than the other, so it's a little bigger, a little ahead of the other one, but we're gonna wait and see how this works. The retaining wall is doing okay. The problem is this coastal redwood that's above in my neighbor's property. The roots just flow through my yard and suck the water away from every plant in here. Hydrangea down there, that guy right there, I moved from here, and this was the most shaded spot actually, and I had put it here intentionally, but it's so close to this tree that it had gotten invaded, and when I dug it up, there were so many redwood roots intertwined in the roots of the plant. All right, so here, the new square. This is the whole new area that we did this year. We did try this new mulch, which I do love, but it discolors. It gets a weird color when it's wet. So even when it's dry, it looks funky. There's weird pooling looks. The catmint, it's a dwarf catmint. It's doing okay. It might be getting too much water, maybe, because it kind of flops a little. The angel, I think this is angel white or something, echinacea. I am really happy with this plant. The green echinacea I'm not as big of a fan of, but the white one has been really pretty, and I could see adding a few more of those. The petunias, of course, are always doing really well. They do. I bought 2 6-packs right next to each other, and they have a very different habit. The pink one is a small mounding habit, very tiny, and the white one is a spreading mounding habit. So the white one has been overtaking the pink one, where in years past they had similar habits. And of course, when you buy these, it just says various, so not very helpful. I think this pot is too small. It only gets watered 3 times a week. I think it just dries out too much, and I don't always have time to come out and water it before I go to work on the days it isn't watered, so I think this pot is just too small. This area gets, I think, pretty much all day sun. The spot gets hit by the sun pretty early in the morning and stays in the sun till pretty late in the evening, so just can't. It's just not enough shade to keep it wet. Probably needs to go east side of the house to get afternoon shade. Oh, it's hot. I'm totally sweating right now. The redbud, Oklahoma redbud, the leaves are curling. So I know it's stressed, and I have checked the soil, My suspicion is it's getting too much water because I have the inline emitters here and it does water regularly. So I was contemplating, and this is a risk because, you know, I got to remember to do something, adding a shutoff valve and seeing if letting the ground dry out more and maybe turning it on and off every week. Not sure if that's a wise thing. Maybe I just need to cut. I do know this area is heavy clay. We had a lot of trouble with water drainage this last winter, so this may be part of the problem. Is it's suffering from oxygen deprivation because the ground isn't drying out. I did pull back the soil and dig a hole, and the ground was wet, but it didn't seem oversaturated. The flower box and flower box road, again, petunias, and then perennial sage. Oops, is the sun going to make this hard to see? The petunias, again, same petunias. The pink ones just get overcome by the white ones. And the sage, I think I need to be cutting back. The bees have really been all over it, so I had cut it back a little bit several months ago, but I didn't want to take their entire food source away, but it's hard to get in there. It had flopped at the beginning of the year. I think a cat or something slept in the center and pushed it all out. So I don't think I want to keep it in here, but I don't know where else to put it because it is big. It is so big. All right, the Russian sage experiment. One is staying up, one is flopping. This one must be somehow getting too much water. It's not really working. I was hoping it would provide a little shade for the house area here, but instead it flops. It's not really the ideal thing. The marigolds that I planted along the front because I thought, well, hopefully they can handle the heat. They have done well. They're mounding up. They've done really well growing. There's lots of new flowers on them. I do rinse them down every week with a little water because they have developed a little bit of infestation here and there. I don't know if this is what it is. With the leaf hoppers and stuff, I have had issues with them scorching, or maybe spider mites in the past getting into these because they just seem to get the stippled leaves and stuff. So I've been watering them down, trying to reduce that chance of happening. Okay, for the circle, I have had a lot less luck this year. We kind of revamped a few things, and one of them being the way we watered. I took out the direct emitters and put the inline emitters so that there was more equal spread of water. But what that resulted in was some problems for the roses, these Atlas roses from Proven Winners. They didn't have enough emitters close to their root balls. Last year, they struggled because I had moved them. This year, they struggled because they didn't get enough water. So I added emitters, but I think I'm going to change that again so that maybe it could use two 2-gallon emitters near it, and then it can get the water from the other inline emitters, the 1 gallons. Because I was thinking when I had the rose garden over here, that's what I had. I had at least two 2-gallon emitters within 6 inches of the root ball, and then additional emitters further out. And maybe that's what this guy needs. These sages that I got at the UC Davis sale, they're very wispy and pretty, but the flowers just aren't that visible, and it's just a little meh looking, I think. It just doesn't doing anything for me. I don't know if it was my fault. I did watch Linda Vader, and she heavily clipped her plants to get them to fill in. And maybe that was something I should have done. Maybe if I heavily clip them so that there's a dense green canopy and then let it flower, it might have done better. I'm not sure. It doesn't provide the structure or the depth needed for such a large space. These were the echinacea I got at the UC Davis sale. I thought they were pink. They come in orange and then they fade to an orangey, pinky color. Not a fan, again. I got 3. The third one died. It was sick. I nursed it back to health, but in the first heat wave, it scorched and died. So only 2 remaining, and I don't like them. So I'm probably going to get rid of those and replace them with what I want. The lavender did great, as usual, every year. This is a dwarf head coat lavender. When I waited too long to shear it back for its second flush. So it's in the process of growing, of reblooming. It's getting ready to rebloom. I may have missed the bloom cycle. The Verbina. I bought Verbina instead of petunias this year, or million bells, or whatever the word is, and they do not look nice, and they have not looked nice all year. I can't remember what that's called, but it looked cute. Penstemon. It looked good, then it died back, and now it's flushing back finally with a second bloom. I added a orange rocket here for additional structure, along with an orange rocket behind the hose reel. They both struggled right after I planted them, but they have rebounded. I had to add additional emitters to this one, because it wasn't getting enough water. It was too far from the inline garden hoses. The glads were really pretty this year. I separated them, and these ones came up around the tree really nicely. And the tree is finally filling in, which has been exciting. And I have talked about this before, where the tree had been grown with a stake up this side of the tree, and it was really frustrating because it just looked like it was empty on one side. Well, now finally, in its 3rd year in the ground, it has branched out. It's still lopsided, which is extremely disappointing and very. Lemon balm is invasive, so be careful. It comes up everywhere. I shear it back, I yank it out where I don't want it, but it does add a touch of green for free. The sunshine ligustrum, I suspect again a water issue. I've checked a couple times. I think it should be getting enough water, but it's scorching. I believe when I saw Linda Vodder talk about it, she said hers started to scorch and she thought it was a water issue and that she needed to water hers more. So we moved this. I didn't want to shear it back till it established itself, and then when it started scorching, I didn't want to shear it back. So my plan is to shear it back in September to kind of get it a little more under control, and I can check the watering at that time, and then I'll let it kind of grow out a little bit because I do like the natural style. It's gotten too big, and I know that is just a function of what these guys do. They do get rather large, and I just need to kind of control it a little. The tower boxwoods are doing really well. They've kind of started to come in. I've picked up 3, and they're coming in. I wanted to get like that height, right? So I needed more height in this area. So I'm hoping this will kind of provide the height. I am just thinking about taking the orange rocket that is over here. Whoops, where is it? Where are you, orange rocket? Right there. And moving it and putting another green tower there, and maybe adding another green tower here just to kind of like fill in the space a little more. My pots did horrible this year. Last year it was so gorgeous. I bought similar things, but everything is not doing well. The Coreopsis fries. The Verbina the Verbina last year cascaded down and was hitting the top of the statue here. This, what is this called? I can't remember. I just don't think it can handle the sun without being in the ground. I think it needed to be in the ground. It needed a better source of water. I think the pots dry out too quickly. The heat, the few times it's gotten to 109 has been a problem. The hydrangea is rebounding. Since I moved it, I can see additional growth in here in the canopy, so I'm feeling good about the move. and pulling it away from the redwood, it's doing much better. All right, the candy corn spirea is looking good. I have had issues with scorching this year again, but not as bad as last year. So I think it's starting to establish. You can see some of the scorched leaves here and here. Again, is that watering? Probably. I feel like I'm watering quite a bit. It's getting 20 minutes 3 times a week, which is a lot of water, but maybe it just needs more emitters. The Del Oro daylilies stopped producing really early this year, which surprised me, and I didn't change their watering. This guy, I've had to trim back a few things because it's flopping quite a bit. It also is leaning towards the sun, so it might not be getting enough sun. It gets, I'm going to say 8 hours here. The blue arrow juniper I still adore. I wish it was a little dark, a little bluer, because I know when I saw it in the store it was amazing. This one has still remained more green than I had intended, but I still love it, and I hope to get more. And I might have to do the skyrocket juniper. They both stay relatively small. The skyrocket gets a little bigger. The pillar rose of Sharon has been really pretty. It's put on some pretty blooms here. So pretty. I haven't seen much of it, and it doesn't seem super healthy. I did add another emitter. It seems maybe not very green. There's a lot of light yellow leaves on it. There is a Aastad Salvia. I did not get any apriums this year, but I have cut it back. I did a summer prune, so I'm hoping it'll be better this year. My O. Henry peaches still haven't come in. They're starting to fall off the tree. I think they're getting knocked off by the birds, but I can see there are peaches on the tree, and they're all looking good, but they're still hard. I did do a summer prune. I opened up the center so that there was more light and airflow, but yeah, it's not doing its thing. The Fuyu persimmon is coming along. I've got one persimmon here. Where are you? There you are. I left it on. This is its first year in the ground, but I left it on because I really wanted a persimmon. There were several I left on, and they slowly self-pruned off. I did put in a Asian pear. I need to repot it because I need to move it and put it on a hill because when we ended up getting it in the ground, it was flat, and that's not safe in our area. When it rains and it floods in this spot, it would get too wet, and I need to lift the crown of the plant. Here's where I moved the Shasta Daisies earlier this year. I moved them in hopes of getting them to rebloom since I'd heard daisies rebloom, but instead they just burn. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here, but I'll keep trying. And then here is the pretty and pink Eden rose. I got a second bloom, just a small one, but they were pretty. Well, I think that's the end of my garden tour for August. Let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas on how I can improve my garden for next year, and thanks for watching.